Hey, welcome to another video. I fully admit that I sort of stole this idea. There's a few guys over in Britain. It's called the Photography Pubcast, and they get together every so often and they start talking about different topics. And one of the things they were talking about recently was things they were tired of seeing on YouTube. And one of them was unboxing videos, and another one was the what's in my bag videos. I won't comment on that. But one of them said, I think it was Sam, mentioned, hey, what I maybe would want to see is a what's not in my bag video. This is also a photo of the month video, and I've been struggling trying to come up with an idea where I can just add some photos. Usually I like to have some content to go with it rather than just throwing up a bunch of photos. So if you see a photo without any name to it, that's my photo. If you see a photo with a name to it, obviously it's their photograph. So let's get into what's not in my bag. And I know it's going to be blasphemy for some people, but what I don't have in my bag is a 35mm prime. I've had 35mm primes. I just sold one a few weeks ago. I'm more of a 50mm guy, so I don't have a 35mm prime. That's not in my bag. What's not in my bag is a 100-400. Again, blasphemy, I know. Now, if you're new to this channel, I'm a Nikon shooter, and I shoot with primarily a Nikon Z8, though I also have a Z7II, and I have a Z50 as converted to an infrared camera. So mainly I shoot with Nikon lenses, but not completely. I have two Voigtlander lenses. I've talked about one quite a bit, and the second one I just picked up that I'm trying out, which at least so far it looks like I'll probably end up keeping it, which is the 75 1.5, which you'll hear about in a future video. But I don't have the 100-400. If I was still shooting high school sports, soccer, football, I would have the Nikon 100-400. Instead, I have the Tamron 70-300. It was less expensive. It's a lot lighter. I didn't feel I needed the 100-400. I actually had ordered one, and the store I ordered from said they had them in stock, and after a few days it hadn't shipped, so I contacted them, and they fibbed, because at the time they were just coming out and they didn't have them. They had sold out and they were just holding my money, and so I canceled the order and I just never reordered it. I ended up getting the Tamron later on. It's hard to definitively say the 100-400 would be better, but it may not be better for me just because of the cost and the weight. You know, I use it to shoot my grandson's soccer. Granted, I will admit, you know, even with the Z8, I still miss a lot of shots, and I end up putting the 24-120 on there, and I get a better hit rate, but I also lose the focal length. You know, 120-300. On a soccer field, that's a huge difference, of course. I've gotten to the point now where I'm at an age that, you know, the Nikon Z8 may not be my last camera body, might be, but I would assume that I'm going to stay inside the Z system, and so whatever lenses I get, I may tweak them around a little bit, like I did just getting rid of the 35mm. And one of the reasons why I got rid of the 35mm was because I realized that when it comes to portraits, I like shooting, well, now with that 75 1.5, say 75 even up into 200. Even though I don't have a 200 range, I wouldn't necessarily use that Tamron to shoot portraits. You can, but like, I don't have the old classic Nikon 200 F2 that everybody says is so great. I've never owned it, but mostly I shoot portraits at 85mm. What's not in my bag anymore is the Acratech panorama head with the nodal rail. I thought I would shoot more panoramas than I do. Quite honestly, when I do shoot panoramas, I typically put them on a tripod, but I'll just shoot them vertically and shoot, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to maybe 8 or 10 frames across, and shoot more than what I want in the final image and stitch it together, and then I can crop out the edges anyway. Was the pano head and the nodal rail better? Yeah. But again, to keep carrying it all around, no, I sold it off, and now I just have the Acratech ballhead. I've got their, whatever their top of the line ballhead is. They make good products. It wasn't that I didn't believe in Acratech. I do. They make good products. I just found it kind of a waste to have both the pano head and the ballhead. So the pano head is no longer in my camera bag. What's not in my bag anymore is the Hoya infrared filter. And I've talked about this before, and the reason why it's not, it does work. It works perfectly fine on a regular camera. However, it acts more like a ND filter. In other words, it blocks it so that you essentially have you lose about 6 stops. So if you're shooting anything that moves, it's hard to get a fast enough shutter speed. So I ended up getting the Z50 that's already converted to infrared, and that's my main infrared camera now. And here's where people are going to start groaning. I can hear it already. What's not in my camera bag, in a way, is knowledge. And you can say, well, it sort of is, because the equipment that was in your bag gave you the knowledge. Well, that's true. But the point is, you got to take what's in your camera bag out and go to use it and gain that knowledge. You can watch all the videos you want. You still have to go out and apply the other thing that's not in my camera bag, and that is practice. I guarantee you, if you're a little bit younger than me and you're a basketball player and you go out and you take 100 foul shots every single day, maybe 200, within a relatively short period of time, unless your technique is awful, you're going to be a better foul shooter. I used to coach basketball, and I used to preach that. You just have to practice. Camera's the same way. Not in my camera bag, you got to just go and do it. Because I enjoy photographing so many different things, I probably have 1 or 2 more lenses than some people. In other words, if I was just a landscape photographer, I'm sure I could get away with 3 lenses pretty easily, maybe even 2. But I like shooting portraits. I like shooting these birds at this lake I'm sitting at. I like shooting a variety of things. I still like shooting sports to some degree. And because of that, it's hard to say, well, I only need 3 lenses. I typically tend to prefer primes over zooms, and it's not because, like in the old days, primes were so much better quality-wise. I mean, my 24-to-120 F4 on that Nikon, it's a fabulous lens. You know, is the 50 F2 Apo Voigtlander lens better at 50 millimeter than the 24-to-120? Well, first off, one's an F2, one's an F4, so you get a different look. But yeah, I mean, the prime is still the better lens, even at 50 millimeter. Do I need 2 50 millimeter lenses? Do I need that one and the Nikon? Probably not. But I use the Nikon to shoot videos when I shoot the videos in my house. And there are times when I need autofocus rather than the Voigtlanders, which are manual focus. I was at my son's house last week, and I took the 50. Somebody's here to feed the birds. I took the 50 F2 Apo with me there was one specific image that I wanted of my grandson, which I'll put up on the screen now. And man, I had to fight for that image because I didn't have autofocus, and he would not sit still. He didn't want his photo taken. Normally when they don't want their photos taken, I won't do it. I'll just say okay. But I went up there to see everybody, but I really had envisioned that exact shot in my head before I went up there. And I wanted that shot, and I was going to get that shot. As much as he struggled not to let me get it, had I used the 50 autofocus, I would have had it a lot sooner. But I love that. If you look at the fall off, the bokeh, it's just so creamy. It's just beautiful on that lens. And I'm kind of hoping the 75 is the same way. From what I understand, 75 might not be quite as crisp as the 50 Apo, but I don't know. We'll find out. The little bit of testing I've done with it so far, it's pretty close. It's a darn good lens, the 75-1.5. Here's one that I took yesterday, I think. Wide open, 1.5, manual focus with a bird taken off. And I still got it. Look at the eye. Anyway, so I guess the point is that if I did a what's in my bag video every year, it would probably be slightly different. And I hope to get to a point, I really do, where if I ever to do a what's in my bag video, it would be the same for about 4 or 5 years in a row. Camera, lenses, everything would be the same. I really would like to get to that point. And I think that ultimately what I'm going to get down to is the Nikon 20mm 1.8. I think I'll always keep that lens. The 24-120 f4, I'll always keep that lens. The Voigtlander f2 Apo, I'll always keep that lens. Then it'll come down to whether I think there's a big enough difference in the 75-1.5 versus the Nikon 1.8, whether I really like the look of the 75 that much better, because the Nikon's the autofocus and the Voigtlander's the manual focus. And when you shoot a lot of kids that don't want to sit still, I know I'm going to miss a lot of shots. If I was actually being paid to do corporate work, I'd go with the Voigtlander. I think it just has, at least if it's somewhat similar to the others I've had, and the 50 Apo, it just has a little bit different look to it. All the Voigtlanders do. And I'm kind of assuming the 75 does, and the little bit I've seen from it already, it does. It just has a little bit different look than the Nikon. And that isn't to say that the Nikon's a bad lens. That's a great lens. That 85-1.8, I'm not going to speak poorly of that lens. It's just the look is a little different. That's all. It depends on what it is the look that you're going for. So it's really personal preference. So I don't know whether I really need to keep the 75 and the 85. And then it'll just boil down to, do I keep the Tamron, or do one day do I invest in the Nikon 100-400? And then leave it at that. I don't really see myself doing anything else other than that. I don't care what lenses they come out with. Oh, and I keep forgetting. I do have the 7 Artisans 24mm 1.4, which they sent to me, which I did do a little bit of a review on. And I use that for my infrared lens. And I found that it's really good for infrared. So I don't want to exclude that lens. I appreciate 7 Artisans sending it to me. So again, thank you, 7 Artisans. But I also have that lens. And I'll keep that lens. Just for infrared work and maybe some low light work. But I'll keep that lens as well. And other than that, who knows? Those will probably be the lenses that will end up staying in my bag. Anyway, that's just a quick video so that I could show everybody's images for the month. and have something to talk about. Thanks again to, pretty sure it was Sam on the photo pubcast, the guys over in England, for talking about that. I do want to give him credit. That is where I got the idea from. So thanks, Sam, for throwing it out there. I don't think he was going to do it. That's one of the reasons why I did it. If he had said, hey, I'm going to make that video, I wouldn't be making this video. I wouldn't just steal it from him like that. But I got the impression that it was like, hey, I'd like to see that video maybe. So that's why I did it. All right, well, till next time, please like and subscribe. And if you want to hear about the Voigtlander 75-1.5, stay tuned. Probably another week or so I'll come out with that video. So till then, please like and subscribe and take good care of yourself. Bye for now.